Lights.
Camera.
Watch.
Dumb money.
Watch.
I'm
glad you like this one.
Well, it's a great movie. It has an amazing ensemble cast.
Like surprisingly really, really good cast.
I just was interested to see like why people signed up for this, but I get like the similarities with The Great Short. But like if you look at everyone in this movie, they're either like A actor, maybe not A-list actor, but they're all like A actors in my opinion, like A+ actors.
Definitely, and a lot of them are like on the rise.
Yes.
So there's like a lot of fresh faces, and honestly, like I feel like Paul Dano and America Ferrera are having their like renaissance.
I think America Ferrera is having her renaissance. Paul Dano has been having hit after hit after hit, because if you haven't watched The Batman, he's the Riddler.
And then he also was in Spielberg's movie last year as well.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was
the one about his family, or like
he plays the dad.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
He seems like a young guy to play a dad, but maybe they just make
Well, it's when he's like a kid, so.
Yeah. So his dad's not gonna be like 55 or something. But, anyways, Paul Dano, who plays Roaring Kitty, who's Keith Gill, he's the guy that led the sensation of the GameStop stock, just like doing the short squeeze. And for those that weren't alive or were not aware,
there was alive last year.
Yes, well, like almost like 2 years ago, like everybody and their mom owned shares of a company called GameStop, because like these giant conglomerate hedge funds who have had a history of destroying smaller companies by betting against them. And what's it called? The main character, Keith Gill, who's Roaring Kitty and goes by all like the fucking Valve and stuff like that, he saw an opportunity to exploit it, and he bought tons and tons of shares of the stock, and would go on like on his YouTube and all these other social medias, and he would praise it. And then I guess through the encouragement of his wife, who's played by Shailene Woodley, says, you should go post this stock on Wall Street Bets, who's a subreddit on Reddit, and is like an area where everyone goes in and talks about the shares of stock, or they're interested in like companies that they feel like purchasing. Anyhow, lo and behold, it kind of makes sense to a bunch of people. And through his like YouTube videos and all these other weird things that he does, it catches fire and people start buying it and buying it. And the stock jumps from like $3 to like $12 in a span of a few months. And it continues to like kind of snowball slowly until it reaches like a pinnacle of like $100. That's where we kind of begin the movie.
It's genuinely insane that this actually happened.
I know.
I can't say I'm surprised that somebody decided to make a movie about it, because literally, what just happened?
Yeah, the owners or the creators of Wall Street Bets were immediately in negotiations, like when everything was happening, when this like took off. Mm-hmm. Like they wanted to have like all this insider communication, all these messages and stuff like that, to be able to share this story. And I remember like everybody from Netflix to whoever was just vying for this opportunity to like reach out to this guy and Wall Street Bets to buy this story, because it was really like a moment in time that everybody was really kind of a part of it, because during the pandemic, like everybody was stuck at home.
The same guy runs Wall Street Bets, right? That's not a separate person. It's
like a group of people.
Oh, okay.
But there was like one guy that founded that subreddit. But like he was like, I'm assuming one main guy, and I can also assume like Keith Gill was like saying like, yeah, I want you to be okay with my story and give like insider information and stuff like that.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like this is my story and this is how I want it to be portrayed. And it very much was done really simplistically well.
This is way better than I thought it was going to be.
Did you?
Yeah. I went in with pretty low expectations. Not like saying this looks bad. Like the trailer was actually intriguing. It's just like the fact that it's such a modern story.
Yes.
It's like, how is this actually going to work out?
Yeah.
With especially it being such a pandemic era story, such a online story, such a like social media crazy masks are around story, and something that like just happened. I was like, there's a very, very, very large chance that this is just unwatchable.
Yeah.
But I was really surprised at like how good it was and like the quality that it actually was, and that like the COVID era stuff wasn't like super cringy. Like granted, like I feel like they commented enough on like mask etiquette and all that stuff where it wasn't like shoving down your throat, and like made jokes about it in a nice way. Like even like the Pete Davidson with the cups, where he's just like drinking out of a group of cups, and he could be like very easily just like going to his buddies, but it turns out he's a DoorDash driver. Like, I enjoyed that. I was really surprised at like how well this was cut together.
Yeah, speaking of like the pandemic, I really, as you said, it wasn't like shoved down your throat, but it was like, it was a background character.
Yeah.
Like, you always felt like its presence was there, and you saw the presence from various types of people, whether it was like kids in college room dorms that were just all hanging out and didn't care about like this, what's it called,
social distancing.
Social distancing, thank you for that word. Or like you have people that are extremely wealthy, that like Seth Rogen's main character is in Miami. He bought a mansion and he's buying another mansion. And he literally says like, so I can tear it down and build like a tennis court so my family has somewhere to play during the pandemic. It's like, go die. Like, literally go suffer all the miserable deaths you can ever experience. Like, this person, that's his mindset. And these are real people, mind you. These are real actual people. And I just like that they didn't forget showing the pandemic. And there's a moment where you see America Ferrera being the first person to volunteer to get vaccinated.
Yep.
So I just thought it was interesting. Like, you see so many people in various types of forms, and the rich billionaires that are having their Wagyu steak, and they're having all these sexy people at their parties, to like people just like trying to have dinner. And then there's people like mourning their siblings, and they're just like rarely get together. It was just well done as a background character.
Yeah, and I feel like the real magic of the movie is that obviously like Keith Gill, Paul Dano's character, is the main character in this story, and everybody else is listening to him and reacting towards him. Mm-hmm. But it's very much following how this specific GameStop situation is affecting all of these different people's lives in such different scenarios.
Yeah.
I thought Seth Rogen's casting as the billionaire in charge of like all the hedge funds and stuff was interesting, because like, how could you not like sympathize with Seth Rogen? Like, he's just such a funny guy. Like, you kind of want to be on his side.
You know, I've lost my love for him.
What?
Yes, I'm just letting you know. Look, I'm not like, he's done a lot of amazing work, but he's kind of like that kind of group of like Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill, and like that just kind of group. Like, I feel like, yo man, I'm not kind of hanging out with you guys anymore. Like, have you seen the movie like This Is the End?
Yeah.
Where their friend visits and he just doesn't want to hang out with them. He's like, yo, I just kind of like...
That's you to them.
Yeah, and I'm not like, their talent is there. Like, they've written, produced, bless his heart. Like, literally Seth Rogen went to like Congress and asked for like funding for Alzheimer's, because his father-in-law is like suffering from that, and they take care of him. But like, it's just weird. When I hear celebrities sometimes, like I have this concern with celebrities when they start giving me their personal opinions of like how life should live. I'm like, look, don't tell me this.
We're in different places, dog.
Yeah, like don't talk to me like you're a millionaire. It's like he like literally says like, oh, I'm never gonna have kids. Me and my wife, when we had this decision, was like not to have kids. It's like, dude, like, I don't need to hear that. You know what I mean? Like, some people are dying to have kids. Some people are just standing in line to adopt a kid or like have an opportunity. But like, great. Like, I love the celebrities that you kind of never hear about them in their personal life. Like, I don't think I've ever heard anything about Sebastian Stan, like what he says in his life ever. Or I don't know, like Vincent D'Onofrio, who, if that's how you pronounce his name. By the way, he is such a great villain. Have you ever seen Daredevil?
I've not seen Daredevil.
He plays Kingpin. I love the fact.
Which one is this? Who did he play in this?
He was the guy that had that pig in the house.
Oh, okay.
So he played, like, the casting was great. But like, let's just aside from like Paul Dano, I thought Pete Davidson, like, this is a great role for Pete Davidson.
This is the role Pete Davidson is born to play, and this is also the role that Pete Davidson plays in everything. He's just like the weird stoner friend who's just kind of a bum, and like, he does it very well because that's also what he is in real life. But shout out him for making his check. I like Pete Davidson.
No, look, he's in the news too. Like, he's like the GOAT. He got another baddie. Like, he
only gets baddies, dog.
Like, I don't know what he does, and this goes out to every guy out there. If you look at Pete Davidson aesthetically, he's not like Henry Cavill. Like, he's not like jacked up, like this handsome, like Superman. You know what I mean?
But he's funny, and that's really all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, people just want to, like, girls just want to be like, look, I don't want to be with the guy that's working out 8 hours a day. You know what I mean? They just want, like, a regular guy that has a lot of money.
Yes.
That can make me laugh. Nick Offerman, I love him.
Wonderful to see him in anything.
I don't think he does anything bad. Like, I can't see him in a role like that he does terribly. I think he won over like millions of people in that episode of The Last of Us. That alone could have been a movie. It was fantastic. Have you seen that episode?
No, I haven't seen The Last of Us.
Okay, there's just this one episode.
I've heard the one episode with him is like
give him an Emmy, give him an Oscar. Fantastic. Shailene Woodley played a fantastic, like, supporting wife. You know what I mean? Like,
I haven't seen her in a while. It was nice that she was in. I feel like they really dug up some, like, they should be in more things kind of characters for this.
I agree, but, like, it's just like anybody from Antonio Ramos, who plays the GameStop clerk, who's like a real human being.
Yeah.
And what I really liked about the whole story, it talked about where people are in their lives. Mm-hmm. So you have like America Ferrera, who's like a nurse, frontline worker. You know what I mean? Like there's those moments that's like, oh, thank you for your
She's the only one that I didn't want to lose her money.
I know.
She was the only one whose bank account I cared about.
Yeah, and I like how they showed people's net worth in the beginning of the movie. But
I like that.
But it also showed like the greed people have. You know what I mean? Like, if you go to the casino and you win a lot of money, like, they bring up the casino in the movie as well too. It's like, when you win the casino, take your W and get out as quickly as you can, because the casino is built to take your money. Like, if you go to Las Vegas wasn't built off like people winning. It was built off people losing their life savings. That's why those casinos exist, you know? So her character like bets money that she doesn't really even have. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't cash out properly. And towards the end of the story, you kind of see where everyone kind of falls, you know? And where you see, what's it called?
She did end with less debt than when she started,
That is correct. Instead of like having like 50K in debt or whatever it is, with like 14K. Well, and then you see like Antonio Ramos, who's like, all of a sudden, like, he was showing off to he's like a younger guy. He lives with his parents, and his parents are like, you made this much money, you got to cash out. And he's like, no, you got to ride this wave. You know what I mean? And I like what he did, because there's a moment in the movie where you find out that he sold half of his whatever shares. So he made like over like 100 something K.
Yeah.
And he let the other half ride. And then you had the two young girls that are in college, and they make a pretty penny. And they sell it, and they try to get back in. Yeah. And they buy... I forget how they end up in the end.
They each end up like 100K up.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And what the fucked up part is that all goes to student debt.
Oh, yeah. That was the thing. Like, they want to pay off their student debt. And it's like, yeah, you did that successfully.
But, like, the casting itself was wonderfully done.
When I left the movie theater, I had to look up where I had seen the GameStop manager. Oh. I was like, where do I know this man from? It's because he plays...
Anthony Ramos is...
He played... what's Spider-Man's best friend? Harry Osborn?
Yeah.
In the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies?
Oh, he's that?
Yeah, that's like... I know he's in other stuff, but like there was one thing I was like, what do I know this guy from? And it's not.
I know him from... Because I recently watched Transformers, and he's in Transformers.
Oh, not Anthony Ramos, the other guy.
Which other dude?
His like manager, the one who keeps telling him to like put his mask up.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. That guy. Exactly.
He lowered his mask.
He plays Harry Osborn.
Yeah, he plays Harry Osborn. He lowered his mask at one point, and I didn't realize it was him. And then I was like, oh my god, where do I know him from? And I had to look it up. Like literally the second I walked out of the thing, and I was like, Spider-Man. That's exactly what it is.
But I think everybody that had an opportunity to play in this movie was fantastic. And even though we watched this last week and it's September 24th, they only released it. There was a limited release. It hasn't been like nationwide yet.
I think it just went wide.
Yeah. So we'll see how it does. It's going to be interesting to see how
It's the worst week in the box office all year.
Really? To open up a video, to make a movie. Because again, it costs about, what's it called? Like $30 million to make. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just basically you're paying all these people, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, granted, like, the rest of the movie clearly was not very expensive to make. Like, the sets are very low-key. The cast is, like, they got A-list stars, but they didn't get, like, crazy A-list stars. Yes. So it's not like someone's out there, like, making a couple billion to themselves. Like, Paul Dano obviously made, like, a pretty penny on this. Maybe America Ferrera next. But, like, everybody else is, like, they're still well-known people, but they're not, like, their bill is not going to be too crazy high.
Yeah, I just feel like they're A actors, but not A-list actors. You know what I mean?
Even like the other nurse that worked at America Ferrera's hospital. I don't know his name, but like he's like a side character in Abbott Elementary.
Oh, is he?
I was like, that's nice to see him there.
No, I think it was just like a great opportunity for a lot of other people to get like to shine on. I don't know where the two young girls play in, but like it just seems like this is a great opportunity for them to be part of a great ensemble. Now, I did not have any problems with this movie whatsoever. I thought the way it was paced, it was perfectly, but I really didn't know what I was going in for. You know what I mean? I didn't know how they were going to structurally play this. I did not laugh so much in this movie, by the way.
No, there's like a couple gags that I was like, that's pretty funny, but I didn't think it was like a hilarious movie by any means.
I felt like this was more of a drama because it was, even though there was funny moments, like, I think we relate because we're the people that have debt. Yeah. And we really wanted like an opportunity to fuck over the system. And the system like ultimately wins in their own way, and some people just get like little W's because in the grand schemes of stuff, like even like Roaring Kitty, he didn't come out like making way more money because there was a point that he had like almost $50 million. Yeah. And he doesn't walk away with $50 million.
He walks away with like 20 million though.
I understand that, but like if the way the system was really supposed to work, he was supposed to like make like almost like $100 million. Yeah. And then like so were a bunch of other people, but like the system does not work that way, and it just really highlights the corruption in our government, where you have this guy that luckily found like a little like secret that like nobody was paying attention to. And all of a sudden, it was making all these really important billionaires' hedge funds bleed money. And he's like basically being attacked. Yeah. Whereas in like these hedge funds, when they destroy businesses, no one's subpoenaing them.
Well, even in this case, like the Robin Hood shutdown. Yes. The billionaire buyouts. Like, it was supposed to tank way harder and benefit them way harder than it did. And like what you said about this movie not being as funny and more of a drama, I think was nice, because like if it was trying to be a comedy, it would have leaned into the gags, like expecting a laugh, but it didn't do that. It was more of like, this is like a real serious situation that happened with a little comedy element sprinkled in, which was just kind of like lighthearted, because at the end of the day, we're talking about a man who at the end makes cat memes and screams on his computer about GameStop. So like, how serious can you really take it? So that was nice as far as like a tone, but you're absolutely right. Like this is still crazy that this happened, because like they should have been frankly billionaires.
Yeah. Or something, like any type of agree. What I did like that this movie was able to do, it got real life congressional like videos. Yeah. And apply it to like real life actors, like answering and portraying those people. And it's not like those people can go in there and be like, oh, that wasn't me, I didn't say that. I'm like,
it's almost exactly the same.
Yes, they literally got
also
that.
Imagine having to testify in front of Congress and they referring to you as Roaring Kitty or whatever your social media handle is.
No, it's just like,
that's horrifying.
It's just amazing, because he really did say that stuff. He's like, I am not a cat. Like, imagine going in front of like one of the biggest powerful bodies in the world and saying like, I am not a cat. But like, again, some people would be like, oh, your name's Roaring Kitty. You know what I mean? Like, so you want to clear your statement. I really also like the fact that you see the poor people, what they had to work with, and the rich people. All of a sudden, when you see like the hedge fund guys, they have like people telling them like, don't do the interview in this like your wine cellar, like rewrite your personal statement, make sure when you're in the room there's got to be like only like less people, and like they have an army of lawyers
and
inside.
They still sounded way stupider than just the real person giving it to the people like he was doing the whole time.
The only thing too is like you kind of see like the little guy, you know, gets a good moment, but like the happy ending didn't exist, you know what I mean? Because the system itself is truly flawed. Because it is later revealed towards the end of the movie that they didn't get any penalties, they didn't get any fees.
Yeah, no charges were filed.
Even though there was collusion clearly like posted, you know what I mean? And again, these are people that are hedge funds that pay the super PACs that help elect the officials. And it was quite interesting. Like, they could have killed like this dude's life, you know? Whereas in these other people, like, if they needed a bailout, their billionaire friends show up, they infuse money. Whereas there was that amazing part where America Ferrera says like, all we got was like 600 or $700, you know? And that's just more of the telling situation. And I think that's what the movie does really great, because it doesn't sit there and really like complain. It's like, oh, sucks us. It's just like, it smartly says like, you know, like we didn't get no bailout. All I got was $700. And how that applies to like millions of people.
Did you see I, Tonya?
Yes.
You know, it's the same filmmaker.
Really?
Isn't that so interesting?
You can tell from the style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's I, Tonya, also good movie.
Really good movie.
I really enjoyed it.
Also has Sebastian Stan.
Oh yeah, he's like in a lot of movies. You know.
Yeah, but like most of them was Marvel.
Yeah, that is true. But he's done a lot of things like low key. I feel like he can play like anybody. You know what I mean? Like you can put him in any type of movie.
So there's a lot of things about like, if they ever recast Luke Skywalker, who would they recast? And the only one I've ever heard that I wouldn't be upset about is Sebastian Stan, because he looks like young Mark Hamill.
Yeah, he does.
If you like put a picture of them like together, they look very similar.
So people need to hurry up and get on that. Where there's opportunities, honestly, strike where the iron is hot.
Not that I like the CGI recreation Luke Skywalkers we get. I'm like fine with nobody ever playing that part. That's my stand.
I will always say, like, look, man, just recast someone and bring them close enough. Because have you heard, like, do you watch Rick and Morty?
I saw, like, the first couple seasons, but I'm not, like, up to it.
So, as you know, like, one of the creators... like,
the guy who voices both the characters is, like, a racist?
Gone.
Yeah.
I don't know what he is, but, like, after what Ezra Miller did, like, you know what I mean? Like, almost like... And they still allowed him, the movie to show... And like for him to go it's just weird how certain people are allowed to get away with certain things, and how other people, if they want to take you down, they will take you down.
100, but it's so easy to recast an animated show.
Yeah, but when you hear his voice, they recently played his voice, it is not the same.
Oh, that's a bummer.
It's the same, but it's not the same energy. It's not the same Pickle Rick. You know what I mean? Like you hear it, it's like, oh, it's like someone that can do his voice pretty good, but it's like there's that life isn't there. So I feel like that show will just have one more season and that'll be in it, because I don't think people will tune in. You know what I mean? It just sucks. It just sucks. I mean, again, anyhow, Dumb Money, I think why it's really important for people to watch this movie is because of how it's like a real life history lesson that's happening, or that just happened. Everybody should be watching this, be aware of it, and in many ways become extremely upset, because our elected officials then really didn't do anything.
And it's also like on a filmmaking aspect, it's also good to just see a story that is so social media forward not being done in like a cringy way.
Yes.
Like I think this was presented very, very well for it to be a 2021 story. And just anything that is like so internet screen involved is so easily to mess up. Not saying that it's like perfect, like, but I think this is a very, very good, as we move forward in like news stories and things that happened like recently, like this is a good example to be like, okay, let's make sure we do it like this and not like some of the other garbage we've already had. I'm honestly pretty impressed by this. I think everyone should see it. Yeah,
when you have an ensemble cast and a lot of times they're not engaging with each other,
it's really easy to mess it up.
Yes, it's really easy because everyone's kind of like playing their own universe, and it's all glued together, and they're all connected by Roaring Kitty. And that's kind of like the cool part. Like everybody was like following this guy's lead. And imagine every single day you were someone that would post your wins or your gains on a posting board. You know what I mean?
Which is insane. And Paul Dano also approached it in like you actually do want to root for this guy. Like you're hoping he remains a good character the whole time. Granted, we all know what happens because it was like just a couple years ago. But like I didn't buy GameStop stock. I know
people to this day that still own GameStop.
Really?
Yes, because they're hoping for some type of like opportunity, because they bought at a certain number and they're just really trying to break even at this point. And it's not even whether it's GameStop or AMC or like any of the other penny stocks that came out that like everybody was jumping to, like Bed Bath Body and Beyond or whatever it was one of them too. So it's just going to be very interesting how students that will study economics like look back at this little portal of when everybody was home and everybody had the ability to sort of play in the casino of Robinhood. And now imagine at that given moment that you had money, that all of a sudden that you can't spend your money. That's why I'm always concerned when people saying like, oh, go paperless, don't use cash and stuff like that, because if you ever really needed it at that moment, you couldn't.
Something as much as like, have you seen what happened with like all the NFTs?
Yes.
Like all the NFTs are worthless now, and they were worth like millions of dollars a couple of years ago.
Yes.
It's like you can't trust the internet fads.
I agree, and I tell people all the time, like, if you can't tangibly own something, how valuable is it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, we always make this joke. It's like, oh, I own this NFT, and like my friend just took a picture of it. It's like, I own it too now.
Yeah, you can just like something you can screenshot is not worth millions of dollars.
Yeah, I think again, people should be very concerned about like what they purchase, buy, or invest in. I always tell people, by the way, disclaimer, we are not financial advisors. But like, you know, if you own something, you tangibly own it, like it's much more valuable than like an imaginary figure. And it's really interesting to know that like a lot of people's retirement plans are all based on these zeros and ones that are on like this internet platform that like, you know, what happens if the internet goes down? You know, what happens if your system goes down? How do you know how many shares so-and-so has? Yeah, you have the paper trail, but back in the day when you bought stocks in a company, they gave you an actual physical stock certificate. So as stock buying has become very, you know, easy or accessible, well, it's just that at any given moment, if that system goes down, you will be impacted. But at the same time, you're dealing with people that have supercomputers, that have massive amounts of wealth that they can buy and sell things at any given moment. And even though they're making fractions, those fractions are usually millions.
So what ended with Robinhood at the end? Is Robinhood still up?
Still up. You can still use it.
So just the owners just like lost a bunch of money?
They lost the value of their IPO, and what happened at the end of the day, they got bailed out.
Gotcha.
So like Citadel and all these other companies like own a vast stake in it.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, I still use Robinhood. Not gonna lie, the app's fucking great. Like it's really a good app. But the fact that they're saying that they're not doing commission charges, or they don't charge you a fee, that's just a lie. There's another way in the back end that they take money from you.
Gotcha.
So instead of like the stock being like $15 on their platform, the stock will show like $15.10. You know, there's like just little tapped in fee into their current like value of it, and all these other things that way above my pay grade. But anybody out there, Dumb Money, I hope a lot of people go out and watch it and support it. And I hope more press gets onto this movie, because it's really interesting how like movies like this that are really critical to society are sometimes just like go under like.
Well, I hate to say it, but I feel like this is a movie that's going to do better on streaming than it is in the movie theater, because I don't think a ton of people are going to race out to go see this. But I think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I remember when that happened and I'll check this out.
Yeah. We'll tell our kids about this day. Well, that's Dumb Money.